But it is time once again this week. We were off yesterday for Canada Day, and the Premier of the province is back with Premier's picks for Week 2. Premier Wall, hope you had a great Canada Day.
It was a good Canada Day. The day before we were up in the PA area with having a look at some of the great work of our firefighters there in the base, and yesterday monitoring it. I know all the Green Zone listeners are thinking about folks up north, and we want to thank, if I can, thank everybody who's responded to help and volunteer at the many Red Cross evac centers. There's some hopeful things happening up there in terms of weather and allowing all of our aircraft to get up in the air and do a little bit of water bombing like they would like. So thanks to everybody. Not to start the Premier's picks on the fire. I don't want to do that, but I do want to say thanks to everybody for their response, including the firefighters and the local leaders up there. And hello to two of Canada's finest sports journalists. How are you guys doing?
I don't see Glenn around, but okay.
I wouldn't be able to say that if Glenn was.
Oh, there it is.
No, I'd have to say three.
Okay.
You're right about one thing. I mean, we saw just a taste of probably what's been going on up there. I mean, when the smoke hit here, it was so tough, and a lot of people complaining about how the quality of air down here. You can only imagine what it would be like up there.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, we had planned to go right into L'Orange, and they just said there's nobody flying into there. And, of course, the bad news there is not that politicians can't go, notwithstanding the fact we want to say thank you and do a bit of a site tour. The big problem was that all of these great assets, including water bombers from Quebec, were on the ground and available for the media to shoot some B-roll with instead of up in the air and fighting the fire. And that's where the pilots want to be. And now, on the upside, fellas, here's something to remember. The smoke and the humidity kind of laid down some of the fires a little bit because it got a lot cooler. And so that allowed our sort of ground forces to go in there. The running game, so to speak, had a good day or so of fighting fires. But it's hard work, and they're doing an amazing job up there. And I am glad that people are keeping them in their thoughts, and also that they're volunteering and supporting the Red Cross and the evac centers across the province. We're going to get through this. Like you said, things are a bit more hopeful weather-wise, and we'll get people back home and settled as soon as we can.
Premier Wall with us here on Premier's Picks. And, of course, once again, going back to the roots of Premier's Picks, it's you, the fans, against the Premier, and I'm making picks. We don't know where Gary is. He's AWOL today. So
I think the fans would have pretty much been pretty successful last week. I was 1-3, was I?
No, the fans went exactly to your liking there, Premier Wall. They went Montreal, Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatchewan. So you and the fans are tied with 1 out of 4 to start Premier's picks. Good thing Gary's not here because he'll go 0 for 4 this week, and he started with 3-1 somehow, some way. The blind squirrel theory works again for Gary the King Nickel, co-host of the Fan Zone. With Gary and Scott every game day with your game day updates during the game. He is here. Okay, we'll talk to Gary just a little bit.
He's not trying out for kicker.
So, Premier Wall, I wanted to ask you this question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Where were you in 2003? Do you remember the West Final?
Yeah, I do. I do remember the West Final.
I'm just going to play this clip of the new number 1 quarterback, Kevin Glenn, about his last real game in Saskatchewan before he filled in for Darian.
And I think that's because it was a very interesting game, that Western Final. We almost came back, from a large deficit to come back to possibly playing that Grey Cup that was in Regina that year. So it's a lot of memories in that, and I think that was probably the game that Brendan Tammon watched to trade for me the next year.
Of course, he would to be traded to Toronto, then Brendan Tammon brought him to Winnipeg. That was one of the most irate moments of me being a Rider fan. I was at Commonwealth Stadium. Nealon Green was sucking so hard that he was against the wind every single quarter he played in because it was blowing into his face. He was sucking that hard. And everybody in the stadium was like, where's Kevin Glenn? Put in Kevin Glenn. They put him in. What does he do? He darn near put the Riders into the Grey Cup at home in 2003.
Well, he's the best contemporary quarterback without a Grey Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't think there's a question about that. Just based on what he walks into very difficult situations, has for the last number of years. I mean, I think the last time he was the undisputed starter was that with Winnipeg when he got snake bit in the Eastern Final and got hurt. or was it? Has he had?
A little bit with Hamilton.
I guess Hamilton,
Yep.
right? I guess Hamilton. But congrats to the management for this off-season decision. Nobody, everyone wanted Kevin Glenn to be an outstanding insurance policy that never had to be cashed in. Because it was so tragic and sad what happened to number 4. Honestly, it's just really unbelievable. But kudos to management. We have a great insurance policy, an excellent, the best in the league, in fact, in terms of backups, and he could start in any particular city, and now he's starting in ours.
That's what we have, the same backup in Warren Woods when I have to take a day off or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I am, a backup.
So is Gary a bit of a practice roster addition, or?
Oh, if we get to Gary Nickel, that would be like going to Seth Daggy last season. As,
oh, come on now.
There he is. Gary Nickel, nice of you to join us. Gary Nickel of the Fan Zone, everybody, co-host heard during the games as he brings you the updates. As we'll get to Premier's picks, and this is how it works, fans. You weigh in over the next 10 minutes. You tell us who you got in the 4 games this week in the CFL. We'll kind of divvy it up, and the popularity contest wins for the fan vote. Last week, one of the fans, Jeff, went 4 for 4, but everybody else brought him down because the fans actually went 1 for 4, only getting the Calgary Stampeders right, like Premier Wall.
So Gary is better than all the fans right now.
Yes, he is.
I might be in a
That's
tie for first or something like that, isn't it?
It's not like we're ever going to hear about that.
No. Let's get to game number 1 tonight.
Wait, just quickly, can I quickly do this, Jamie?
Yep.
I think I could tell from your tweets you're sort of a bit agnostic, maybe opposed, but how do all 4 of us feel about? I like the McCallum signing. I like it.
They're going to regret it.
I like it.
I love it. Like you said before, I could be kicking for the Riders. Back in the days of the mighty Hayden Bowman Bears 0-8 senior season, I kicked, and I think I went 1 for about 30, but that one was about 37 yards, so take that to the bank.
Glory days.
He knows Mosaic Stadium and the winds and the conditions better than anybody. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
Okay.
What's the feature you guys have on the Fan Zone? The Joe Blow fan, the average Joe moment of the week, right there from Gary Nickel with his 1 for 30, 37-yard field goal. Congratulations.
Bruce Springsteen is the soundtrack.
Thank you.
Gary's like that.
0-8.
We get to pick number 1, Hamilton versus Winnipeg. Gary, you got it last week, so you get to go first.
Well, I'm going to keep riding that Winnipeg train, boys.
Winnipeg.
The grease fire is fully extinguished. They look pretty darn good. Drew Willie looks good, and their O-line looked pretty good, and I'm going Bombers.
I'm going Hamilton. Fans, you can weigh in. Where are you going, Hamilton or Winnipeg, as we go to Calgary in Montreal? Is this just going to be unanimous Calgary with the I think the Fire's going towards the Montreal Alouettes these days?
Do I get to go first?
Go ahead.
I don't want to.
It is your show, after all.
I want Gary to go first.
Okay.
Well, it's impossible to take Montreal as much as I want to. Calgary didn't look that good last week either, but I will take the Stamps just because I know you guys will. I don't want to lose that little lead I got.
Premier Wall?
You know what? When I looked at the games this week and I got ready for Premier's picks, I was trying to do my prep for the show. I was going Stamps all the way, and now I'm going Alouette.
Whoa.
Premier Wall.
Wait a minute. Before I lock that in,
Here we go.
Who's playing quarterback for the Alouettes?
Who knows?
Let's see. You got a choice between Brandon Bridge and Rakeem Cato.
I forgot about both of them going down. So am I allowed a politician flip-flop on this right now?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I'll allow it.
And will no one ever mention this again?
So you're going back to Calgary then?
Yeah.
Okay. I approve of that one. As we go to BC.
I was in favor of Calgary before I was opposed to Calgary.
Gary, BC in Ottawa.
Oh, man, your Ottawa pick was so hot last week, Jamie. It almost makes me want to ride it again, but I'm going to take BC.
I've got Ottawa again this week.
Oh no.
Lions.
As Premier Wall goes with the BC Lions. Final one, full disclosure, Premier Wall will pick Saskatchewan over Toronto, but do you have a point differential for us? It was 10 last week against Winnipeg.
By a field goal. What number is McCallum going to be?
15.
15. Watch 15 win the game.
Isn't that Nealon Green's number?
Watch
It was, yes.
It was Elon. Is he going to wear the shield? Chrome face shield? That would be cool.
The old one bar. I'm going to go with Toronto because I don't want to go the exact same picks as our premier. So I'm taking the Argos.
I sadly going with the Toronto Argonauts as well. I'm at the see it to believe it mode with the Saskatchewan Roughriders tough going with Double D.
I'm worried about how long do we know is Emery and McDougall out for? Do we know?
Oh, Emery or McDougall seems like a while. Emery, we'll see if he gets placed on the 6-game injured list. That's what I'm anticipating right now. So yeah, it's.
Yeah. I like the T-Brax back, but I hope they did a bunch of tackling drills this week.
They did. They were working on tackling yesterday. I caught that right away.
Dressler's back too.
And Dressler is back. And Dressler's.
Who would you pick?
I'm thinking Saskatchewan's going to have a bounce back game.
Oh, there you go.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
We'll see if Woodsy goes to the 1-1, he'll have the best winning percentage out of all of us through week number 2 of the CFL season. Premier Wall, thank you so much for your time once again on Premier's Picks.
Thanks, fellas.
There is Premier Wall and Gary the King Nickel here on the Fan Zone with Scott Vickers right here on CJME during the games.